Welcome back to another edition of Track Walk in MX Simulator, where today we're going to be taking a look at Flip's Motocross Park, or Flip MX Park. I'm not sure which one is correct. It is by Charlie Cameron on the MX Simulator forums, and he put it down as Flip's Motocross Park, but I've also seen it online as Flip Motocross Park, Flip MX Park. Either way, this is a real track in New Zealand. I'm going to get the name wrong, but it's like Aotearoa Park, New Zealand, or something like that is the name of the town, I guess, that it's in. Again, got it very wrong, my apologies. But yes, this is a real sand track in New Zealand, and it is awesome, in my opinion. The flow of it is very well organized. I love the jumps that are on this track. I don't know how accurate anatomically it is that Charlie Cameron built this track to the spec of the New Zealand track, but he builds a lot of like Australian and New Zealand type tracks, so I think he's got his finger on the pulse pretty well with a lot of tracks down that way. And this one is a very, very well put together sand track, in my opinion, and I think Charlie did a great job with it. He recommends playing it with Erode on. I have Erode turned on, and I've done about 5 laps on it. I don't see it wearing down too much, but I also have Erode on pretty low. I just didn't want to go overboard with it. So but yeah, like even as a base track without Erode, very good flow. Did exactly what I think you have to do with sand tracks in mxsim, which is kind of like, I don't know if like saying overscaling the rough is the correct terminology here, but you almost make every bump a little bit bigger than probably it would be IRL. Definitely don't make too much chop, because when you have like a lot of roll resistance in the sand, as he does on this track, a little bit of chop ruins the flow terribly, because like just to get over it, you have to pretty much have the bike stood straight up and hope. Whereas if you kind of leave it a little bit smoother on corner entry and exit, and then have those big rough bumps kind of throughout the track elsewhere, yeah, like then it definitely kind of works very well together. Almost went down right there. He's made it so like a lot of the lips have these kind of notches in them that kind of kick you. Like even right here, it's like roll up into the lip and then bounce, and then this one is a little bit roller and then it kicks at the top. So if you're playing this track for the first time and you're kind of newish to sim, not new, but maybe not like pro level, definitely this is a good track that will help you get comfortable at doing the little like kind of pop to lean back. Like almost every jump in sim, you have to do a little bit of like a lean back pop. And by that, I basically just mean instead of leaning back off the face of the jump all the way up it, you kind of wait until you're at the very top of the jump, and then you just do a tiny little, that kind of movement, little pop movement right there. And that just allows it so that the bike kind of keeps the nose high, because it's easier to go nose high, right? Like I'm going to barely land this, not actually land it, but it is easier to go nose high in this game because you can control it with brake taps and stuff like that. If you go nose low, the only hope you have is just going 5th gear pinned and panic revving and hoping that you can bring it back around. Like nose high, you can control it with throttle control, brake taps, all that stuff like that. So I get asked that a lot with mxsim of like, how do I keep from going over the bars? And that is, in essence, the trick you have to get good at, is that tiny little pop off of every jump, every little bump that you go over. You just have to get comfortable kind of leaning back at the right moments, if that makes sense, which can be tough to do. Like, don't get me wrong, when I was learning sim, that was one of those things that tripped me up for a while. I, for some reason, played way too much Supercross in my early days of sim. So I kind of learned it the tough way by always having to pop in rhythm sections and stuff like that. But even tracks like this, it is kind of challenging to get right, because you're constantly going over rollers and bumps and stuff like that, and you almost always have to have a little bit of that flow, the ebb and flow with the stick, leaning back. So yeah, this is actually a good track to learn that, because the sand isn't overbearing. It's not too roll resistant, so it doesn't feel like you're bogged down everywhere. I would probably recommend playing this track on a 450. But otherwise, yeah, it's a great learning experience to get those pops down. So overall flow-wise of the track, like I said, I like this a lot. I don't love wall jumps like that in the middle of a straightaway, but I think that's the only one, if I remember right, that really kind of stands out. Like this one you have to check up for, but it's just a tabletop. Honestly, kind of reminds me a little bit of old Lommel in sim, and I guess Mantova would be a good comparison as well in sim that we've had over the years, where there's a lot of like these high-speed sections, and you can kind of launch this double out a little bit, but like this tabletop, you definitely almost have to check up for it. You can launch pretty far, but then you have to be really precise with where you land. For the most part, though, there's not a lot of like big hucks. This one you can launch out pretty far to flat, but there's a lot of those kind of tabletops that you generally have to check up for, like slow down, get the right speed and angle off of it so that you don't go too far. And I like that because it makes you think a little bit more about the track as well. Kind of puts you in the right mindset for flowing through the track. And yeah, the bumps tie together well. I haven't really found any section of the track where I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would there be a bump right there? I'm going to try to start changing up my lines a little bit. I've been taking a lot of the same lines, but here's the middle line right here, and then we'll jump over to the outside way. We'll go way outside here. So this is kind of fun because you can just carry speed all the way around the outside, and that's a pretty smooth line. And you go to the left right here, again carrying speed, but there's a pretty big bump in that corner right there actually. So that's another one where if you're not thinking too much about it, it'll catch you out like it just did me. I sat into that corner thinking like, oh, I'll just carry speed. It must be a smooth outside line. It wasn't. Nice little inside rut right there because that's coming back onto the start straight actually. That's the first turn complex right there. And then this little rut right here is also pretty nice, but it kind of disappears halfway through, so you got to be a little bit careful with it. Step over the top of that, and then wall jump, land flat. Sometimes you got to sit down to make sure you don't have a legs. Keep going inside here. I got to remember to change it up, but I like that inside line a lot. That one flows together really well. You can launch out to the second roller here, but I went a little bit too far. I think if you went outside in that corner, you could maybe launch to this plateau. I don't think you could get all the way over it. I might try that next time by just to see, but you gotta be carrying some serious momentum. And then obviously we've gone inside and outside here a couple times. I think the outside I like a little bit better, has a little bit better flow. The inside, if you can get to it, you might be able to set up a pass on a track like this, but the outside just easier to land and kind of stay wide open on it. And then inside here, far inside is probably my favorite rut, just because the rut on corner exit's bigger. So if you can just stop and get to that inside rut, can really do a nice job of laying it over. I don't think I've even gone far outside here yet, maybe once. That's a pretty good line though. I like that. I keep going inside here, but let's try way outside here over some big rough. That one's probably a little bit too far out there. Not enough momentum. And then this one's too bumpy. Like that one needs to be a little bit smoother, I think, for it to be a viable option. This one's okay, not terrible. And then this one after the finish line jump as well is pretty good. It's actually very flat and smooth. This section right here, back to back, if you want, you could go outside and carry speed all the way into this corner to then go outside again. A little bit slick on exit, but yeah, overall, I think he tied pretty much all the lines together very nicely. I think that this would definitely be a fun track to have a little bit of races on and let the track really wear down, get eroded, because he does say it works better with a road, and I can tell that that inside rut right there is dug out very nicely. So kudos to him for kind of nailing the mark with the erode there. But I wonder what it would be like with 30, 40 bikes on the track, really digging this track out, making it a gnarly sand track, because it would actually probably turn out pretty good. All right, let's try this outside. It's got a little bit of a step in it right there, and I didn't quite get far enough. But yeah, I don't think you can. Like, I just don't think there's enough speed in there to be able to carry momentum and get all the way over that. There is another huck I want to try before we're done with this video, 2 corners after the finish. But other than that, it is just your good, standard, straightforward sand track. Not a whole lot of, like, unrealistic things about it. Really, honestly, nothing. Nothing unrealistic about it. Obviously, it's based on a real track, but I've seen people take real tracks and build them way overscaled, too gnarly, whatever you want to call it. I think Charlie Cameron did a good job here of just building what this track is. It's a small little local track, and it's on the southern side of the northern New Zealand island. There's, like, the 2 main islands of New Zealand, and this is the North Island, but it's on the south side of it, so it's kind of like in the middle of New Zealand, if that makes sense. But yeah, good flow. All right, let's try to figure out if I can nail this. I want to try to triple, not this, although I guess maybe outside to jumping onto that table you probably could. Land in the rough here, get to this inside. So if you go through this corner, I'm going to go far inside right here because I think it'll set me up better for this next corner. But I want to see if we stay a little bit higher in this bank, if I can turn off of it. It's got a little bit of rain ruts in it, and then triple all the way to the... I think I could get that. I think if I don't get in those rain ruts too bad, that's tripleable. If that makes sense? I don't know if that's a word. I don't think it is, but let's see if we can go back and just get to that outside line and try to rip that triple little transfer line right there. That's pretty nice. I think if you just stay a little bit below the rain ruts, but above that inside or that hump on it, that you'll carry enough speed. So a little bit too much in the rain ruts right there. This is probably enough though. Oh no, it slid out on the face. I didn't realize it had that much of a hook in it. All right, so we're gonna have to arc out of the corner off the top of those bumps and then kind of turn down the face. I genuinely think we can do this, and then that'll be a pretty banger line if you could even nail that mid-moto. Pop off of it. So we'll jump in here and to this inside rut. I think it's just the best way to set up for this, at least. I didn't quite get through this well enough, and then that bump, that one bump in the middle is nasty. It's like deceptively larger than I think it needs to be. All right, let's give it one more college try here, and then we'll call it a video. But I think if I just get this corner just right through there. Oh, I dug out the face of it way too much. Okay, so that shows you how much the erode works. I barely laid into that corner right there, or laid into the face of that jump, and it left a huge dent in it. So, yeah, the erode certainly doesn't mess around. It definitely was digging out more than I expected. We'll look at the face of this jump right here, but that's a naughty little rut for only having one erode on right there. So yeah, I think that triple is possible, but maybe got to clean up that face a little bit. Either way, this is Flip MX Park, Flip's Motocross Park, whatever you want to call it, by Charlie Cameron. Definitely check this one out, guys, if you're an MX Simulator player still to this day. A lot of fun, high-speed sections, and yeah, very well built. So thanks, Charlie Cameron, for the track. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. As always, appreciate you stopping by and watching regardless, and we hope to see you guys in the next one. So long for now.